لأول لحظة في العمر ألقاه فلو أدري الكلام قلت أهواه رفيق الساعة الأولى أنست به فعشت بحب ما أوحى به الله وسابقت الأحبة في تلاوته وأنعم حين ألقاهم بلقياه ولي شيخ إذا ردلت ألمحه تقبلني من الإعجاب عيناه
وأبحر في مدى الدنيا وعالمها إلى زمن تعدد في زواياه أرى حلقاتي فأذوق.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Last night we completed Surah Hud and also half of Surah Yusuf. I want to focus on Surah Hud and the lessons we can learn from it. First of all, some of the verses that Hafiz Huzaifa recited in Salat right now related to Nuh alayhi salam and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to build the ship in which he saved the animals and the believers that believed in Nuh alayhi salam. There was one of his sons which was left, and he said that I'm not going to get onto the boat, I'm just going to get onto a mountain, and I'm going to be saved by getting onto this mountain. But he was also destroyed. In the course of that destruction, Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam makes dua to him and says, "Oh Allah, this is my son, and I want you to save him." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds, "Innahu laysa min ahlik." He's not from your family. "Innahu amalun ghayru salih." He did things which were inappropriate, he didn't believe. So this is the first story, which is basically something that becomes a trend in the whole surah. After that, the story of Hud alayhi salam, who was sent to the people of Ad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِلَىٰ عَادٍ أَخَاهُمْ هُودًا. To the people of Ad, their brother Hud was sent. And again, he came, gave them the message, they didn't believe, and then ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them and destroyed them. After that, وَإِلَىٰ ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحًا. To Thamud, their brother Salih was sent. Brother referring to their own, he must have been related to them, he must have been close to them. So their brother Salih was sent. Gave them the message, this miraculous camel, she-camel came according to their demands, and then they killed that she-camel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them, and they were destroyed. Then after that, the story of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, which I'm going to focus on right now. And then after that, the people of Shu'aib, وَإِلَىٰ مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا. To Madian, their brother Shu'aib was sent. Okay, again, referring to him as the brother. So we have a pattern of relationships, connections being mentioned. The son and brothers in this case. And again, a couple of relationships which I'm going to talk about right now. The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now this story is mentioned 2 or 3 places in the Quran, 3 places in the Quran, in which angels come in the shape of handsome young humans to the house of Ibrahim alayhi salam, thinking they're humans. He prepares, he goes and slaughters a cow for them, and he roasts it, cooks it, and puts it in front of them, and they don't eat. And he kind of gets suspicious that this is not right. And according to the tradition of the time, if you put food in front of a guest and he refuses to eat, then he has come with ill intention. So he becomes suspicious. They reassure him that they are actually messengers from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are angels in human form, and they have come not for him, and he's afraid that he kind of figures it out, that they are angels in human form, and whenever that happens, there is some trouble about to happen. So they reassure him that he is not in any kind of trouble, but Lut alayhi salam, the people of Lut alayhi salam, they are the ones that are going to be in trouble and they're going to be punished. So Lut, he is actually related to Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is what happens. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this whole episode. I'm just going to briefly translate it. Indeed, our messengers came to Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam with good news. The good news was that he's going to have a child. He has already had Ismail alayhi salam, but he's going to have Ishaq. So according to biblical references, they were very old. He was 100 at the time, and his wife, Sarah, she was 90 at the time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these angels to give them the good news that in this old age they're going to have a child. They said salam, he said salam back to them, and it wasn't long before he brought a roasted calf. When he saw their hands was not reaching out to it, to this food, nakirahum, he kind of became suspicious of them, and he was afraid of them. وَأَوْجَسَ مِنْهُمْ خِيفَةً. They said, don't be afraid, indeed we've been sent to the people of Lut. وَامْرَأَتُهُ قَائِمَةٌ فَضَحِكَتْ فَبَشَّرْنَاهَا بِإِسْحَاقَ وَمِنْ وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقِ يَعْقُوبَ. His wife was standing close by, meaning everybody was kind of anxious that these strangers have come, and including the wife, she's also a little bit scared. And she, when she got the news that they're not in any kind of trouble, she became happy. فَضَحِكَتْ. She laughed. Some scholars have actually interpreted this ضَحِكَتْ as she started menstruating. Basically, she became fertile in old age. This is one interpretation. فَبَشَّرْنَاهَا بِإِسْحَاقَ. We gave her the glad news, the good news, that she's going to have Ishaq as a child. وَمِنْ وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقِ يَعْقُوبَ. And in the progeny of Ishaq, Yaqub alayhi salam will be. قَالَتْ يَا وَيْلَتَا. Of course, she's 90 years old. She's surprised. She says, how is it that I'm going to have a child when I'm old? وَأَنَا عَجُوزٌ وَهَذَا بَعْلِي شَيْخًا. And this husband of mine, he is also old. إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عَجِيبٌ. So this is a human response, a natural human response to something which is out of the ordinary, something extraordinary. She responds by giving a human response. So they respond by saying, قَالُوا أَتَعْجَبِينَ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Are you being surprised with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? رَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ عَلَيْكُمْ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. His rahmah, His mercy, His barakat, they're upon you, O dwellers of the household, meaning this pure household of Ibrahim alayhi salam. إِنَّهُ حَمِيدٌ مَجِيدٌ. Indeed, He is praiseworthy, and Majid, He is almighty. Now, فَلَمَّا ذَهَبَ عَنْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الرَّوْءُ. Now this surprise that he is being surprised with, it kind of calms down, it subsides. Now his natural instinct is, Lut alayhi salam's people, they're going to be punished. And he starts interceding on their behalf. فَلَمَّا ذَهَبَ عَنْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الرَّوْعُ وَجَاءَتْ الْبُشْرَى يُجَادِلُنَا فِي قَوْمِ لُوطٍ. He started disputing with us about the issue of the people of Lut. إِنَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ لَحَلِيمٌ أَوَّاهٌ مُنِيبٌ. Indeed, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was full of forbearance and repentant and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he basically starts interceding. And there are, the point here is that he's interceding on behalf of his nephew or cousin. Both things are mentioned in Tafasir, his relationship to Lut alayhi salam. It is his people, and they're going to be destroyed. They're going to be punished for the things that they've been doing. And he starts to intercede on their behalf. But that intercession is not accepted. That intercession is not accepted, and they proceed and they go to the people of, they go to Lut alayhi salam, and now the punishment is going to start to Lut alayhi salam. What were the people of Lut doing? What were they involved in? The biggest sin that they were involved in was the sin of homosexuality. And the area which they were found, the area is known as Sodom and Gomorrah. And the sin of sodomy, it is actually derived from the word Sodom, from where they were. So this punishment was because of this main reason. And in addition to this main reason, they were doing other things in addition to that. When they come to him, again they're in the shape of humans, and they are in the shape of very handsome humans. News spreads fast that these very handsome young men have come into town, and again, that instinct that they've basically produced, they made they feel that it is their nature to be inclined towards men. It pushes them to go to these men and try to attack them. Lut alayhi salam says, no, these are my guests. You cannot, abuse them in this kind of way. And he turns around and says to them, and again, this verse, it is of some kind of, there's some kind of dispute about this issue, where he says that هَؤُلَاءِ بَنَاتِي هُنَّ أَطْهَرُ لَكُمْ. He tells his people that here are my daughters, they're more pure for you. So first and foremost, the biblical understanding, the Christians and the Jews have the understanding that he was basically offering his daughters instead of these guests that have come. And he was basically telling them, commit adultery with my daughters instead. This is not what the Mufassirin say. Why? Because the very wording of the Quran, it tells us that he couldn't be saying that. هَؤُلَاءِ بَنَاتِي هُنَّ أَطْهَرُ لَكُمْ. These are my daughters, they are purer for you. So pure, adultery is not something pure, fornication is not something pure. So what was he saying? First and foremost, was it literally his daughters that he was talking about? One understanding is that he was talking about his real daughters. The other understanding is that being the prophet of his nation, all of the women of the community are like his daughters. So he's basically saying, look, all of these women are here, and he's not telling them to commit adultery, but he's saying, get into a pure relationship with them by getting married to them. Okay? Get married to these women and live a natural lifestyle. So they refused. They refused, and the wording is very, very powerful, how they respond back to Ibrahim alayhi salam with such conviction. And this is again a huge lesson for us to understand nowadays, that when a sin is a sin, and when a person realizes it to be a sin, there will be a time where he may turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and repent. But when you accept a sin as being completely natural and okay, then you will never make tawbah. This is, when you think of something, anything. If a person thinks it's okay to drink alcohol, and he doesn't believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make something halal, and he justifies it by saying, well, drinking a glass of wine a day, it lowers the cholesterol, it's good for the heart, whatever reasoning that he gives to himself. As long as he believes that it's okay, he will continue to justify his actions, and he will never make tawbah. And this is exactly what these people were doing. And this is exactly what the people who are committing that same crime today are doing. They say it's a natural thing, there's a gay gene, or whatever justification they try to give. But this is again something, all scriptures, the Torah, the Injil, and the Quran, it condemns in in a very strong terms. So they said, قالوا لقد علمت ما لنا في بناتك من حق وإنك لتعلم ما نريد. Very, very strong conviction they have on their behalf. They said, you know that we have no right in your daughters. We don't want anything to do with your daughters. You know what we want. You know what we want. We don't want women. We want these young men that have come. Na'udhu billah. So in any case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes them. And in the course of the punishment, the wife of Lut alayhi salam is also involved in the punishment, because she was also involved in some kind of sin. Either she was a disbeliever completely, or she was kind of complicit in the actions of these people, that what they were doing. So now again we have Ibrahim alayhi salam interceding for his nephew or cousin. The wife of Lut alayhi salam, she is destroyed in this story. Before that, you have the son of Nuh alayhi salam, he is destroyed. and story after story in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that their brother was sent to them. Hud, the brother of Ad, was sent to them. Salih, the brother of Thamud, was sent to them. Shu'aib, the brother of Madian, was sent to them. So these relationships, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining again and again, they cannot benefit a person if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being disobeyed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to bring down the punishment, then it doesn't matter how close your relationship is, even to the Prophet, that punishment will come to you. And how does it relate to the revelation of the Quran in the time of the Prophet ﷺ? There was a feeling amongst the Quraysh that we are the descendants of Ibrahim ﷺ. And because of this lineage of ours, if we are committing any sin, if we are disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our status of being in the lineage of Ibrahim ﷺ through Ismail ﷺ, it gives us some kind of nobility, it gives us some kind of status, and Ibrahim ﷺ would intercede on our behalf even if we're doing something wrong. So through these repeated stories of Anbiya ﷺ and their own relatives being destroyed right in front of them, their own son being destroyed, their own wife being destroyed, the whole people of one's own nephew being destroyed, this shows the people of Quraysh and a side lesson to all of us that relationships will not make any difference if the person themselves does not want to make tawbah and turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, amongst us, if we think that I am the son of a very pious person, that's going to be sufficient for me if he makes dua, possibly. But if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm continuously in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and just relying upon that, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because even the Prophet ﷺ, what did he say to Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha? He gathered all the tribes of Quraysh, each one of them he counted off and addressed each one of them and told them that save yourself from the fire of hell because I will not be able to benefit you on the day of judgment. And at the end he addressed his own daughter, Ya Fatima, anqidhi nafsaki min an-nar. O Fatima, save yourself from the hellfire. فَإِنِّي لَا أُغْنِيكِ عَنْكِ مِنَ اللَّهِ شَيْئًا. I will not be able to help you in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the least on the day of judgment. So relationships, they can, the dua, yes, all relatives, parents will make dua for their parents, but that can only go a certain distance. If the people themselves, the relatives themselves don't want to turn to Allah, they don't want to make tawbah, they don't want to be obedient, then that dua, that intercession, that pleading to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not make any difference. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what has been said and heard.
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير ذا